Alright guys, here we are for round 1 of our modern 8-man. We are playing with Suicide Zoo. This is the list that Fabrizio Anteri, I think I'm saying his name right, he got 13th at GP Copenhagen with. We wrote an article about it. Our opponent is on the play, has kept 7. This hand is perfectly fine. As we said in the deck tech, all of our fetch lands fetch 4 out of our 5 duels. The one we want to be leading with is Sacred or Stomping Ground, followed up by Godless Shrine. Stomping Ground makes our Curd Ape a 2/3 the turn we play it, and then Godless Shrine gives us all of our colors. So we do have a Windswept Heath to get our Stomping Ground, along with another fetch. Street Wraith can cycle, hopefully draw us into a Death Shadow. Again, this hand is it's strong, not the strongest hand we can see, but also not the weakest. So I think it's perfectly keepable. Opponent went Creeping Tar Pit, which means he's probably Grixis control. I think Grixis Twin might run 1 Creeping Tar Pit. I'm not sure. So he's either Grixis control or Grixis Delver. I would say that he's probably Grixis control. So we'll play Curd Ape. And I don't think we need to cycle the Street Wraith now, so I'll hold it. If he tries to like Lightning Bolt our Curd Ape, then we'll absolutely cycle the Street Wraith, hoping to find a mutagenic growth, but I'm also fine with just waiting until we fetch our second land. It slightly increases our chances of drawing a non-land card. So, alright, so he is bolting the Curd Ape. Let's see if we can find a mutagenic growth. If we don't, not the end of the world. We really just want 1 creature to stick, as we have the Become Immense and Temur Battle Rage combo in hand. Alright, Temple Garden. So I think we want our Marsh Flats to fetch a Blood Crypt here. That lets us play Curd Ape and Monastery Swiftspear in the same turn. We really only need white mana to pump our Wild Nacatl, because none of our spells in the main deck cost white mana. So like, there's no actual reason to play the Godless Shrine here when it's not going to do anything. So Marsh Flats, it gets a land out of our deck, lets us play 2 threats. I think it's definitely the play. We are at 12, so we've done sufficient damage to ourselves. If we draw a Death Shadow, we can play like another land or something and drop ourselves down to 10. So it'll be a 3/3. If he kills our Curd Ape, Become Immense and Temur Battle Rage on our Swiftspear, that'll 1 get our 5th card in our yard to make the Become Immense cost 1 after delving. So it'll actually, him killing one of our creatures will actually be really good for us. Hopefully it doesn't kill both. But now that we have 5 cards in the yard, we can delve for Become Immense and then cast Temur Battle Rage. If he didn't kill the Swiftspear would be a 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, so the Swiftspear would be 18 double strike. As it is, him leaving the Curd Ape means we can only make him attack for 16, but a mutagenic growth could do the last few points of damage. Also, him fetching possibly like a Steam Vents to Lightning Bolt this again could swing it in our favor. I think we'll play the Temple Garden. We want as many green sources out as possible if nothing else matters, for Vines of Vastwood kicked. And we'll just go to combat. We'll see what our opponent does. If he goes for another lightning bolt, I think we're safe to just go all in. That would mean he needs like exactly spell snare or possibly like a one of spell pierce to stop any of the rest of what we're doing, but we are just going to let him take this. One of the things we really have to worry about out of the Grixis deck is Terminate. We're pretty resilient against Lightning Bolt, just by like pump effects and mutagenic growth, but Terminate is kind of the only removal spell out of his deck to where we need like exactly Vines of Vastwood to save us. One of the great things is my opponent's going to try and stabilize with a Gurmag Angler at probably the earliest opportunity, which a lot of times our opponent taps out for a Gurmag Angler thinking that it's going to save him, and we end up hitting for a lot. So we have to do a little bit of math here. We have 5 cards in our yard. So 1 Become Immense will help pay towards the second. We actually have an extra mana here, so we can use 2 mana and then 4 cards for the Become Immense. That will leave 2 cards in our graveyard, 3 with the mutagenic growth, which means next turn if we draw a land or like any cycler, we can still Become Immense and Temur Battle Rage next turn. We could also Battle Rage first and then Become Immense if we need to. I feel like we've got enough resources that it's worth like just going for a Become Immense here. The mutagenic growth was a great draw because we can like Become Immense, and then if he tries to answer us with a lightning bolt, we can mutagenic growth. I guess we get blown out by like lightning bolt plus mana leak. I feel like we could play around mana leak by just tapping 1. We might want to yeah, so like even though we have technically a free mana, if we just delve 5 we can play around mana leak. I think that's worth it. Alright, so we'll go for this, see what our opponent does. He just says okay. I am also okay with that. Don't want to load everything up. He could just terminate it. Alright, there's the terminate. There's the terminate, and we don't have a Vines of Vastwood, so now we're in trouble. Yep, that's fine. At this point, we need a creature. I don't know. Our opponent had a pretty good draw. He was able to kill a Curd Ape and a Swift Spear with 2 lightning bolts, when normally we have a mutagenic growth or a Vines of Vastwood floating around somewhere to help us protect that. As it is, he was able to kill 3 creatures, which our opponent's rarely able to kill 3 of our creatures. If he does that, he's in a pretty good spot. Definitely doesn't mean the game is over, but when he gets to the point to where he can start attacking, because of the all-in nature of our deck, he doesn't need to do much damage to finish us off, so we do have our backs to the wall. Marsh Flats is not what we're looking for. Yeah, so another Tar Pit hit, plus a Lightning Bolt to finish this off. He doesn't have enough mana to like Tar Pit plus Snapcaster Lightning Bolt. So it's possible if he like, plays Tar Pit, or like attacks with Tar Pit and just like plays a Gurmag Angler or something, and we draw a Monastery Swift Spear, we could be able to get something going. We'll have 3, 4 cards in the yard, so yeah, we'll have enough mana. That'll mean we'll have to fetch with the Marshlots this turn, though. I think the difference between 5 and 4 is 0. Don't let your teachers tell you otherwise. The difference between 5 and 4 is 0. Just because he needs like 2 bolts to kill us, or like bolt plus electrolyze. So we have 8 lands left in our deck and 36 other cards. We drew a Death Shadow. Probably won't be enough. All our opponent needs is to animate Tar Pit and bolt us to finish us off, but yep, that'll do it. Yeah, so that game we didn't see a mutagenic growth in our hand, and our opponent was able to use 2 lightning bolts to kill 2 of our creatures early, where normally we can protect them and start dealing some damage. And then with our last creature, we made a move because I feel like we had to. I mean, Curd Ape isn't that strong of a clock, and our opponent had to terminate and was able to clean up from there. It's just one of those games. We're going to board in 2 Nihil Spellbomb. It strands his expensive Delve guys in hand, shuts down some Snapcaster synergies. We're going to bring in Dismember, great answer to Tasigur and Gurmag Angler. And Spellskite, even though we can kind of get blown out, like a 2-for-1. This sets up a 2-for-1 with Kolaghan's Command. That card's a little slow, and we don't really care about it anyways. If we can just drop a Spellskite and save one of our guys from a Lightning Bolt, I think it's done its job. We can board out the Mishra's Bauble. They're just a little slow. I think Cryptic Command is a good sign that he's not Delver. He's just a Grixis control version. Normally against a Grixis Delver deck, I would cut some Street Race, just because their whole strategy is playing a Delver and trying to flip it and clock us for 3 while protecting it with Mana Leak and Remand and stuff. So I don't like Street Wraith against the Delver decks, just because it just cycles and essentially speeds up their clock by a turn. But against the control decks, we can be not too like cavalier, but we can be a little more risky with our life total. I'd just rather get the free cycle or the card that I can draw that turn instead of having to wait a turn to draw it with Bobble. And I think that is it. What happened? Oh, the 16 card sideboard bug. I have 5 Mishra's Baubles. I have yet to experience this before, so it's excellent that it would happen on a video. I don't know what to do. My clock is running. I've got like 30 seconds, so I guess we just wait for the clock to run down. While we have 30 seconds, I guess we could talk about my stream. If you guys want to see more of this deck, if this 8-man does not go so well and you'd like to see if this deck is really up to snuff, you can come check me out on my stream, twitch.tv/architect_gaming. We play this deck on stream a lot. We also play the Grixis control deck that our opponent demolished us with in game 1, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So lots of fun. You should check me out. Alright, here we go. Maybe. Alright, on the play. I don't know if we got our sideboard or not. Yeah, looks like we didn't. So, we'll try it. We'll see what happens. If we end up losing, I guess I get my money back. I don't know how that happens. We'll figure it out. But we do have Wooded Foothills, which can grab a Stomping Ground, which can fetch up. Stomping Ground can cast our Wild Nicodle, and then the turn after that we can Swift Spear, Probe, and Bobble. So we will keep a little land light, but we have 2 cantrips that can draw us into extra land. This hand is perfectly fine. One of the things that's really important with this deck is never F6. Even if you don't have a mutagenic growth, don't F6 on your opponent's turn because it gives them free information. Alright, cast Swift Spear. Would love a second land here. A fetch land so I can Thoughtseize would be amazing. But if we don't get it, that's okay too. I think odds are we're going to hit at least our second land by our next turn, because we'll get a draw off the Probe, a draw off the Bauble, and then our natural draw for the turn. Alright, so our opponent has land, Snapcaster, Dispel, Cryptic Command, Spellskite. So yeah, his hand is pretty slow. Not a lot of interaction. It's perfectly fine, just what we want to see. If we can find a land and grab the Spellskite, then we're in amazing shape. We can just clock him with these guys while he sits back on these counter spells. There's an Overgrown Tomb. Excellent. I guess we can ring the bell. Yeah, so we'll Thoughtseize. Definitely taking Spellskite. Could have been a little better. A fetch land means we could have got Godless Shrine, which would pump our Wild Nicotl, but can't complain. So we know our opponent has Dispel, Snapcaster, Cryptic Command, and a couple lands and one random card. Like we could use this Become Immense now. Just let him counter it with the Dispel, but that means he can just play another land and set up Snapcaster Dispel next turn. I think I might... I think I might just want to sit back. We know our opponent has a Polluted Delta, so he does have access to red mana in case he draws like a Terminator or something. 3 damage is not the fastest clock. Like if this Become Immense was anything else, some other pump, like Vines of Vastwood I don't really want to throw away because I mean it can double as protection as well as a pump. Like the Become Immense, I would like to, you know, have like some throwaway spell that he could dispel and then Become Immense next turn. But the problem is if I pull the trigger on this Become Immense, then it'll make it to where I can't use the next Become Immense until a lot of things hit the graveyard. It's probably best just to hit for 3 here. I don't know, maybe we find an opportunity down the road that we can tap him out and squeak this combo in here somehow. So he's at the point now to where he can terminate us and then protect his like, you know, counter our Vines of Vastwood with a Dispel. I think, yeah, he just grabbed a mountain. Just gonna Snapcaster block. Yeah, I think that's fine. I would imagine he blocks the Wild Nicotl. He has a cryptic command in hand. So one of the things I need to think about here is, what do I want to try and do? Do I want to try and save my Wild Nicottle, or do I just want to try and do as much damage as possible? I could use the mutagenic growth on the Swift Spear. I don't think he would dispel that. If I use the mutagenic growth on the Wild Nicottle, it's possible he might dispel that, because then he essentially is using the dispel as a removal spell for the Wild Nicottle. Because if the mutagenic growth resolves, then, I mean, his Snapcaster dies, I keep my Wild Nicottle. If I just use the mutagenic growth as 2 damage, he'd be more likely to let it resolve. So if he pulls the trigger on the dispel, that lets me use my Become Immense on Swift Spear, which would be 6, 7, 8, 9, put him to 1. So that means he's like, he can't use any more fetch lands, and he's at 1 while I have a Swift Spear. He's definitely not dead from that point, because we're almost out of creatures, but we also get to we also get to hold up Vines of Vestwood, which is pretty sick. So yeah, I think I'm going to mutagenic growth on the Wild Nicottle. I don't really care about keeping this guy alive, but I want to make the play that's gonna that has the best chances of forcing my opponent to use his counterspell. And yeah, I think it's correct for my opponent just to let this happen. I have to try and decide if I should do anything else. I think I'm fine. My opponent goes to 8, and I have 3 power on the board, so it's a 3-turn clock. We know our opponent has Dispel, Cryptic Command, I think 1 more land, and then 2 cards we don't know about. Yeah, he has a Polluted Delta, and 2 cards we don't know about. He has Dispel, Cryptic Command, and Polluted Delta, and 2 random cards. Yep, I think we'll be content with this. So our opponent goes to 8, we'll pass. Yeah, this second Become Immense is a little awkward. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to be using that this game, but... Alright, going for a Gurmag Angler. Just thinking about just like throwing a Temur Battle Rage in the graveyard. That gives us 6 spells. Become Immense would give us 7, and we'd have to exile 5. So we're still very far off from like using 2 Become Immense in the same turn. Yeah, I don't think... What we really need is another land. That's what we need. Hey, there we go. All right, now I think we're in pretty good shape. So we'll swing with everything. He'll block a guy. We can Become Immense. He dispels it. Our Monastery Swift Spear is 2 power, and then Vines of Vestwood pumps. So 3, 7. Yeah, he's dead at that point. So make sure we get something that's green. Become Immense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, Prowess happens. Swift Spear's a 2/3. He dispels it, and then we Vines, giving it +4/+4, which combined with the Prowess makes him a 7/8. That's it. All right. So what happens? We just have 5 Mishra's Baubles in the sideboard for the rest of the game? Is there any way to get rid of it? I guess not. And it won't let me submit. I guess we have to play 61 cards. I don't know. Let's just bring a Street Wraith back in. I don't know. Still won't let me submit. This is the weirdest thing I've ever encountered. This is awesome that it's actually happening on a video. With our millions of viewers, maybe we can send this off to Wizards and get something done, making progress. Alright, and we're back. So this hand, it's a little weird. We can, we have one land, which means, and a whole bunch of green and black cards. So Overgrown Tomb casts everything in our hand, but it leaves Wild Nicottle as a 1/1. I think it's likely we draw a second land. We get another draw. The Jataxian Probe cantrips were on the draw, so we're going to have one, and then our turn 1 draw and our turn 2 draw. 3 shots to hit a second land. As it is, we have Vines of Vastwood, which can protect a creature. We have Thoughtseize, which can take a removal spell, like a Terminate or something out of his hand. I think this hand is perfectly fine. Definitely not going to mulligan it, but I've kept hands like this that are perfectly fine, and we ended up in trouble anyways. It's just the way it goes sometimes, but definitely not going to mulligan. Drew a Street Wraith, which is fine. I'm kind of looking for lands, so I'm just going to probe first. Our opponent has Lightning Bolt, Terminate, Damnation, and 3 lands. Yeah, so the removal half. Drew a Bauble. Let's cycle with the Street Wraith. Alright, we drew a second land. I feel like Thoughtseize taking his... What do I want to take? I feel like I want to Thoughtseize take his... Well, hold on, let's see. So Mishra's Bauble is going to be 3 cards in the yard. The fetch is going to be 4 cards in the yard. We'll be at 13-11. We can drop a Death Shadow on turn 2. So we can drop Wild Nicottle here. I feel like we play Wild Nicottle. He answers it with Lightning Bolt. We're perfectly fine with that. Then on our next turn, we go Death Shadow Thoughtseize, taking a Terminate. That means he drops his 3rd land, and we have 1 free hit where we could become Immense and Vines before he can Damnation us. Yeah, so Wild Nicottle is going to eat a Lightning Bolt probably. We want to be able to cast 2 black spells next turn, so we're going to need to fetch Overgrown Tomb with the Wild Nicottle, and then from there we can fetch... we don't have Sacred Foundry in our deck, but we can fetch Blood Crypt, I believe. Yeah, Overgrown Tomb and then Blood Crypt will be fine. So Windswept Heath gets the Overgrown Tomb. Wooded Foothills gets the Blood Crypt. So we'll play Windswept Heath. Might as well get some information. Drawing an Anger of the Gods. That's interesting. I'm not really worried about Anger of the Gods because by the time we play Death Shadow, he'll be a lot bigger than a 3/3. So I don't think Anger of the Gods is going to matter. We'll get Overgrown Tomb. Cast this thing. Hopefully he just main phase Lightning Bolts it. Draw a card. Drew another land, which we don't really need. We would really just like Mutagenic Growth at this point. I think we Street Wraith first. If he lets it happen and we draw into a Mutagenic Growth, we can protect our Wild Nikotl. Alright, I'm going to Thoughtseize. We're going to stick to the plan. If he casts Bolt here, we're perfectly fine with that. Just let it happen. Alright. So he's got Lightning Bolt, Anger of the Gods, Terminate, Damnation. I think we just take the Terminate. The problem with this is that we really need him to use the, yeah, I think we take the Terminate. We need him to use the Lightning Bolt on the Wild Nikotl. Though this is going to drop us to 9, and then the fetch is going to take us to 6. So Death Shadow is going to be big enough that yeah, this fetch takes us to 6. This takes us to 4, which makes Death Shadow a 9/9. So on our next turn, he'll be 9, 15, 19, and our opponent's going to be fetching here for an extra red. So we might be able to kill our opponent for lethal on our turn 3 before he can drop his 4th land. So yeah, I think we take Terminate here. Go to 9. He just took the damage. It's fine with me. I guess we die to Bolt, and then if he top decks a Bolt, but other than that, we're in perfectly good shape. I don't know. We did run into one issue. That issue being we can't Vines of Vassalwood plus Become Immense because we don't have 3 green. But that's just a problem with our mana base. Nothing that could have been prevented. I guess he just fetches up Anger of the Gods just to deal with this. He's just not even going to cast it. So he's going to Damnation next turn. We should have bobbled first. There's one card that we don't know about. If he drew like Snapcaster, we wouldn't want to shock ourselves, though it doesn't matter. He could just Bolt and then Snapcaster Bolt. Alright, I guess we're just going to Become Immense our Death Shadow. This is 18, and then we can Vines if he goes for a Lightning Bolt. One, two, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we're gonna have 3, 4, 5 cards in our yard. So if we draw another Become Immense, we'll have more than enough mana to cast it. Yeah, and we cast Vines. This is 15. This is 18. We know he's drawing a Sulphur Falls. He's got Anger of the Gods, Damnation, a land, and the one random card that we didn't know about. Yep, that's it. We got it. Alright, round one. We will be back for round two.